All right, let's talk federal politics, but with a real local angle here. Now, we begin this story in Toronto because it was over the weekend when Prime Minister Justin Trudeau called the by-election for the riding of Toronto-St. Paul's. So there's going to be a by-election in this Toronto riding on June 24th. When it was announced, boy, I saw that news. I said, that's curious. Why didn't the Prime Minister call a by-election at the same time for LaSalle Amard Verdun? That riding, remember David Lamette's old riding, right? He vacated that role. Why didn't the Prime Minister call both at the same time? That was going through my brain. And then just a little bit later, I see a press release from Craig Sauve, right? Now, you probably know Craig through his work on Montreal City Council, but he's also going to be the candidate for the NDP whenever we get that by-election. And now it kind of looks like this by-election, well, it's got to happen by a certain time. There are some time frames. Looks like when it'll happen will be when everyone's on vacation. I know Craig's not happy about it. He's on the line. Craig Sauve, thanks for coming on.
Yes, thanks for having me.
So maybe I did a pretty good setup there, I think, but let me get your take. You know, it seemed like in your press release that you're upset about this, that you're not happy that this by-election hasn't been called.
Well, absolutely. I think you gave a great intro. The Prime Minister decides when by-elections are called in Canada, and there is a time frame, but for some reason they called the Toronto by-election and not the Montreal by-election. And the people of the riding of LaSalle Amard Verdun deserve to be represented in the House of Commons. They deserve to have an MP to represent their interests and, to offer all the constituency services that an MP can help with. Now, there is an office open that's still providing some services, but having an MP is even more important to get certain jobs done. And with a call that we might find ourselves in an electoral period in midsummer, when people are off on vacation or out of town visiting family, around Labor Day, this will actually probably negatively affect the turnout and voter participation, which is understandable. People are on vacation. They're thinking about other things than politics. Most people do most of the day anyway. So it's usually a very good standard to hold a by-election before summer starts or after it ends. And now, because of the time frame and because Prime Minister Trudeau decided not to call this by-election, we are going to have a large part of this campaign, if not all of it, right in the smack dab of summer. And that's not good for democracy.
Do you think Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, or maybe the Liberal Party, is afraid of you? Is afraid that if they do call an election, when people are still around, they'll end up as big losers?
I don't know quite what they're thinking, but we're definitely organized. We're on the ground. We're knocking doors. We're talking to voters already. So if I have more time, I'm going to talk to more people. So that's okay with us. But I just don't think it's a good idea for democracy because, as we know, by-elections have way lower voter turnout rates, around 30 to 40%, whereas a general election, there's a lot of media attention in a general election. So in order to maximize the discussion we can have in public about public policy, about the issues of the day, it's best to do it when voters are more likely to be able to give their attention towards it. So whatever the impact in terms of my election or not, the impact really is going to be on democracy, on the ability to discuss issues of the day, because more people are out of town. So we've seen, actually, studies have shown voter turnout goes down when the election's held in summer.
Craig, as you go door to door, what are the people of the riding telling you right now? How do they feel about Justin Trudeau and the Liberal government?
There's a lot of dissatisfaction with the Trudeau government at this time. That's very, very clear in door to door. So this is something obviously that I'm trying to discuss with electors too, because we believe we have something else to offer in the NDP. One of the biggest issues that is coming up in Verdun, in LaSalle, in Villemar, housing. Housing prices are through the roof to buy or if you're renting, and people are really feeling the squeeze. They're seriously nervous about whether they're going to be able to maintain the place that they live in, stay where they are, and if not, where are they going to go? And sometimes I'm talking to young families that are thinking we'd like to have another child, but we're a little squeezed in our apartment. But if we leave our apartment with the housing market the way it is, we're not sure if we'll find anything affordable for us and stay in the neighborhood. So I'm hearing and I'm saying 2/3 of doorways, it's housing right now.
On that sentiment there, I couldn't agree enough. I hear those stories, right? People that would like to expand a family, but they've got nowhere to go if they do expand that family. Now, Craig, here's the deal, right? You know, if you really want this by-election, well, you do have a way to get an election. Call up leader of your party, Jagmeet Singh, and said, hey, let's drop the support for the government. Let's get a real deal, full election sooner than later. Isn't that the right way to get us all to the polls?
Well, I think what the confidence and supply agreement that the NDP offered to the Liberals in exchange for many good things is we're seeing through at least to the budget so we can get those things we negotiated for. We're already, we talked about dental care, pharmacare for people who are, suffering from diabetes, contraceptives, also anti-scab laws. So there are a lot of things that the party, and this is why I think it's a great moment to support Jagmeet, when you have a leader that says, I know it might cost me politically to support an unpopular government, but I'm still going to go to work and try to get the best results for everybody and get some actual gains out of this. He did it. So now the budget's going to pass so that we can get some of those gains back for the people. That's why I think it's a good deal. But sooner or later, this government's going to fall. Mm-hmm. Should it be now? We're ready in LaSalle and Verdun. And if it's later, we'll be there as well.
So, Craig, looking at Jagmeet Singh's social media, leader of the NDP, looking at his Twitter, his X, and I'm looking at the priorities, as it appears on social media, heavy on grocery stores and going after the greedy grocery stores, not my word, but seems to be the word from the NDP quite a bit. A lot of that, a little bit of Israel, Hamas, and a little bit, surprisingly, a lot of talk about abortion and that the conservatives are going to take away the right to abortion. Those are the things that I'm gleaming from the social media, okay? But why did you want to get involved in the NDP and run for the NDP? What are your priorities? If I look at the social media of your leader, it goes down a path that you haven't mentioned so far. So I'd love to know why you're in this party.
Well, Elias, I've actually been involved in this party since 2002. I signed up to vote for another city councillor who was running for leader, and his name was Jack Layton. And I signed a card at that time. I was always an NDP supporter because, no, they haven't formed government in Canada yet, but they've always been that party that fights for the needs of all Canadians, the most basic needs. Medicare was an NDP idea through the CCF and Tommy Douglas. And now we're talking dental care, which is holistic medical care, pharmacare. We stand up for the little guy, the NDP, and they've always been there to create these movements that have eventually turn into real results for people. And so I identify with that. And indeed, affordability is coming to me at the doors as well. People mention housing, but you're right, groceries and other services are right behind it. And I'm proud that Jagmeet is going after some of the big rich CEOs who are taking bigger profits than ever. And, us on the ground floor, when we're trying to go buy groceries, we're seeing the prices go up and people are squeezed because salaries are not going up for the average worker in this country.
I should point out the inflation numbers do show grocery prices heading in the right direction. We'll see if that's a temporary thing. Craig, do you want to challenge the Prime Minister to call that by-election? You want to call him out this morning and say, hey, maybe challenge him right here, right now to call that by-election and get the voters at the polls?
As soon as the Prime Minister's ready, I'm ready. The NDP, like I said, we're organized. We've got our office open on Wellington. We're door to door every day. The results are really good so far, so we're happy to go whenever the Prime Minister is ready to go.
Craig, thanks so much for your time this morning.
Thank you so much, Elias.
Craig Sauve is going to be running for the NDP in the riding of LaSalle and Verdun whenever the Prime Minister gets around to calling the election. We'll see when that is and why he's stalling.